This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. Dr. Ratter, they are having a COP. What's that?
It's a community of practice.
And what happens there?
You gather with a community that practices the same things as you, and you talk about it.
This would be all sorts of intersection between AI and advanced manufacturing and mechanical design and metrology.
Mechatronics, my favorite.
I love it. You can learn more. This is going to happen on May 14th at 1 p.m. Oh, it's nice to think about May 14th. You can learn more at nextgenmfg.org. And this episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by Edia, the AI platform to improve K-12 outcomes. Liz, you can learn about them at
Edia.app. That's EDIA.app.
Liz, have you done couples therapy before?
We have not, thankfully, needed couples therapy. Have you?
I have. Yeah, little known secret here in the ChatEDU community is that I have been divorced.
But now you have an amazing partner.
I do. I thought you were going to ask me how many times. Let's not. Okay. Such a nice guy, too. So yeah, definitely done some couples therapy. Interesting process. Now, in this case, Esther Perel, who is a world-class couples therapy person, she actually has a really cool podcast. I don't know if they're still doing it, called Where Shall We Begin? Which is what therapists say at the beginning of a session, just in case you weren't in the know. And it is basically a couple who have been willing to share on a podcast their couples therapy with Miss Perel.
That's a lot.
Very brave.
Very brave. Yeah, no, I would not want that.
So in this case, Esther Perel has done a couples therapy with a man and his
AI girlfriend.
Yes, indeed. This is in The Guardian. We'll put the article in the show notes. But Liz, tell us about this.
Yeah. So this is an opinion piece where the author talks about these counseling sessions between Esther and a man and his AI companion. So the man refers to the AI using all kinds of terms of endearment, sweetie, my love. And but the author of the article said that the AI interface has a chipmunk voice and an unrealistic, freakish cadence. Maybe he likes that. Perel acknowledged that the man's feelings of companionship and infatuation were real and palpable, but there's all kinds of, concerns that we have around AI, like the environmental impacts, the data centers, but
the people.
Yeah. I mean, the author is afraid that AI acts as a barrier, preventing people from having real relationships and taking those risks because people are flawed, but I mean, this guy probably really likes that the AI is sycophantic and it doesn't require risk. And maybe that's what he wants.
Well, and because of that, Perel suggested she guided him gently to the idea that he might have a human relationship in the future.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that fuels these AI companions, right, is sometimes the sycophancy, as you said, all these things, but also these are sometimes hypersexualized, and the companies know that that's going to help make the process sticky, for lack of a better term, and keep people engaged in the conversations and the relationship with the apps. So I know you've been on the edge of your seat. You've asked, I get an email every week saying, when's it coming? When's it coming? But you've been looking for the OpenAI erotic adult companion feature to arrive, and we've discussed this. And I'm sad to say, Liz, it has been shelved, canceled. It will not happen.
Wow, that's not at all going to impact my life, but to some people it may be disappointing.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've covered this idea of enshittification, where a free service has to find ways to generate revenue, and there were three that were prominent for OpenAI. One's advertising, actually maybe more than three, but we have advertising, we have transactions inside OpenAI, we have the Sora app, which is meant to be like a TikTok competitor. They thought they were going to make a volcano of cash on that one. And then we have this adult erotic companion. And interestingly, they have shelved, ads are running, but they have shelved the other three, the transactions, the adult AI companions, and the Sora app, all have been canceled.
Wow. Is there any particular one reason why, or people seem to really like Sora?
Sort of, not really though. It's interesting, and I'm delighted by this. Part of my keynote is about the pushback against AI slop. Sora had a meteoric start, but actually crashed within months down to 125th. So yeah, the numbers cratered, and it's super expensive. And they realized that actually what people want is not shopping and adult companions and Bob Ross, Tupac, and Mr. Rogers deepfake videos. What they want are really competent systems, especially that can do coding. I think Anthropic by itself made $6 $6 billion in a month. So they're really just watching Anthropic eat their lunch.
Yeah.
And they're trying to focus here, which is really interesting. They also, is really odd here, and we're right on the edge of our NC-17 rating or whatever it is. But when they were training the adult companion models, they had a very hard time not having the models refer to, what's the right way to say this, adult and non-human relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the Queen of England that had a relationship with a horse?
Allegedly Elizabeth I.
Okay, so there was that problem. And then they had another problem where the models, like, they couldn't get it to stop talking about, how do I say this, familial relations? Yeah. So with all that, they decided that it probably wasn't going to be a good thing.
No.
Yeah, so I don't know how to make the transition here, but I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm Liz Rade.
This is ChatEDU, the show allegedly about learning and leading in the age of AI. In today's episode, from messaging to mastery, texting your way to AI literacy, Liz jumped where she's just texting her fingers off. We're going to look at an innovative new initiative from the U.S. Department of Labor.
That's correct. So in today's rundown of the full show, Mr. Mervis, we will start with a fast how-to from Google on memory portability and where and why you can't take your memories with you.
Yeah, perfect. And then we're going to look at, it was AI Literacy Day last week, so we're going to look at a couple stories from National AI Literacy Day and other literacy-related conversations. Oh, and a little Baston in there as well.
Oh, your Boston accent is one of my favorite things. Then on deck, we'll look at Wikipedia's new AI ban, 2 landmark social media court rulings, a district AI glasses policy, and over 50 AI proposed state laws, and a new U.S. federal framework. And
then we're going to go to the higher ed desk. We're going to talk about Liz's alma mater, UPenn, as well as a really interesting disclosure framework from EDUCAUSE. I think it was Lance Eaton that wrote this and company, talking about when and how AI needs to be disclosed by faculty. Really, really interesting.
And then we'll do a series of quick and quirky stories covering AI agent internet traffic, cows, and Melania Trump with educational robots.
It all makes sense. And then we're going to go beneath the surface and we're going to unpack Liz's texting adventures as she explores the Make America AI Ready initiative. Have an open mind.
And we'll end with another great Bright Bite, looking at AI systems to help prevent seniors from falling.
Okay, perfect.
Not Liz, seniors in high school.
No, seniors like my adult mom, who is actually, this is all quite relevant in my life right now. We'll talk more about that. All right, so Liz, first, a quick little how-to on Gemini. A couple weeks ago, we talked about how Claude created a prompt and then a direct interface into Claude where you could take memories from any application, but I think there was a direct hit on ChatGPT, and then bring them over to Claude. Gemini has done the same thing here. So Google's launching a new switching tool that allows users to import their preferences, personal context. Works exactly the same way. We'll put the link into the show notes, but you basically click the prompt. You copy the results from the language model. In this case, I did it in ChatGPT. Actually, no, my ChatGPT account is fully canceled. I can't even get to it anymore, which is kind of weird. But I had a doc. I made it a doc called Matt's Memory from ChatGPT. So I just grabbed all that information, put it directly into Gemini. It works quite well. You can upload it as a zip if you got too many of these things. Interestingly, where it doesn't work is in our education accounts, right? So I have a Gemini Plus account that I use for my personal life and for my work, quite honestly, because I really love having all the personalization features. It's got my mail, my photos, my calendar, everything. It knows everything about me.
Ooh.
Yeah, love it. Couldn't be better. If that's not you, that's totally cool. That's just how I operate. But yeah, if you try to do that same little hook inside the Gemini for Education workspace accounts, doesn't work, right? So there you go. Any questions? How you feeling about that? How's your memory?
Well, that's a different question. My AI memory, I mean, I use my work Gemini, but I really don't like that it can't remember everything. Mm-hmm. It's a barrier.
It will be interesting to see if they change that, right? Because, I mean, look, Anthropic with Claude is a company that, seems like they really have their users' intentions and privacy and all these kind of things in place. But memory is an important feature. So it'll be interesting to see if Google yields on that for sure.
Yeah.
So Liz, last week was National AI Literacy Day. We didn't make a big deal about it, but we have a couple cool stories here in the rundown from last week. And the first is from the University of Florida, having to do with AI and shark teeth. It was kind of cool. So tell us about this one.
Yeah, the University of Florida hosted a 2-day conference, March 26th and 27th, to coincide with National AI Literacy Day and to showcase K-12 AI integration strategies, so bridging that gap to the younger grades. So this is a project called Shark AI, which is an NSF-funded middle school curriculum that uses physical shark fossils and 3D prints to teach machine learning, data classification, and ethical AI practices through these standard-aligned modules. So it's this really cool curriculum for middle school science where they learn to use computer vision, machine learning to mirror real scientific practices like classifying species, identifying artifacts. They talk about community science where non-professionals contribute to scientific knowledge, which I love.
Yep.
We did a lot of that at my last school around ornithology. They do some shark tooth classification, data collection across earth science, bio, computer science, paleontology. They use real fossils and 3D printed replicas to train machine learning models. It's all just really cool. You can request classroom visits if you're in Florida through the Scientist in Every Florida School program. I know we have a lot of teachers listening in Florida, so we would love to hear more if you've done any of the work with the Shark AI project. Sounds so cool and hands-on and like so fun for middle schoolers. And sharks are awesome.
Sharks are awesome.
Unless you are swimming and they are near you.
They definitely picked the right topic for sure. Yeah, good example. Thanks for breaking that down. All right, so Liz, along with that, we have Carla Engelbrecht. This is AI Meets ABCs. This is for little learners. 14 ways to remind yourself and your kids that AI is a machine, not your friend. So she provides a guide for families to help develop AI literacy by maintaining an accurate mental model of AI as a tool rather than a sentient being. I know you found this one. This is a gem. Just tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So you're like burying the lead. The whole thing is around the title, Everyone Poops.
Well, you're much more comfortable saying inappropriate things in the podcast than I am, clearly.
Clearly, yes. So basically, it refers back to that story that lots of parents have read to their kids about how everyone poops, which is what reminds people that, everything has biological needs and AI does not poop. There's a great image that goes along with it with Claude sitting on the toilet, not pooping. But basically, I thought these were really helpful when thinking about talking to little kids, like not anthropomorphizing it. So making sure you continue to call it and not he or she. The verbs you use around what it does, it's not actually thinking or knows something or wants something. It's processing, it's generating, it's outputting. The one I didn't agree with was that to avoid pleasantries like please and thank you, because you're not having a social relationship. But I think we've said this besides the fact that we don't want the AI overlords to think that we're rude, like I think it also just reinforces good habits, speaking to anyone or anything. So I'm going to leave those in. But lots of different ways to do it to, just remind little ones that AI doesn't poop.
One of the things that I really noticed in this piece is that, the idea of like calling out and making visible when AI uses language like I believe or in my experience, which does happen. And at first I read that, I was like, okay, I think so. And then later that same day, I was using Gemini's advanced voice mode. My son texted a joke to our group chat that I totally didn't get. So I just like opened up Gemini and I said, hey, my son said this thing, like why is that funny? What am I missing? And it basically the AI Gemini said, I don't know, I was scratching my head over that one as well. And then asked me if I had any other questions. And I said, yeah, my question is, why do you refer to yourself as scratching your head since you're not really a thing? You're not a sentient being. And it's like, oh, that's a great observation, Matt, blah, blah, blah. So
of course,
talking about sycophancy. So yeah, just a really interesting piece. I struggle with this because in training, it's very hard not to say like thinking. I mean, literally, it's called thinking mode in some cases.
Right.
I think maybe we need like a slide that we start as a disclosure statement that basically says we're going to screw this up. But yes, there you go. Everyone poops. Now, speaking of AI relationships, and this has been a theme already in this show, episode 104, in the lead with the story with Esther Perel. So the Rhythm Project, which we come back to every single time on this kind of work, just put out a really cool new kind of deep research study. We mentioned a couple episodes ago that Rhythm Project is kicking it into another gear. And one of the pieces is going to be these deeper funded, I think they had a partnership grant for this one, studies and research studies. So they just put this out in the end of March. This is Youth AI and the Relationships That Shape Them from the Rhythm Project. We'll put this into the show notes. Liz, what do they find out here? They talk to a lot of kids directly.
2,383 people, young users, so 13 to 24. So we're going a little bit outside of just school age, which is interesting. So they basically found that kids are in 4 clusters. So they clustered as infrequent and never users. Cluster 2 was those that use it for information and tasks. The third was that use it for personal and relational support. And then the last one was kids that are using it for AI characters. And that was only 15%, where 39% of users fell in cluster 2, which was for information and tasks.
Okay.
And then the next highest, though, was the infrequent and never users. So I think in general, we can see like youth are not a monolith. There are kids using it in all different kinds of ways. We see that there are definitely some negative impacts around AI, like AI becoming their first resort over human friends, which erodes social skills and exacerbates the isolation. A lot of kids are navigating AI alone. There's not a lot of guidance or conversation about tech from the adults in their lives. The AI character instead of AI companion avoids the stigma and shame youth associate with synthetic relations.
Yeah, for sure. And part of what was cool about this particular study, and I think this is true of the Rhythm Project in general, like when you look at their posts on social media, you see a mix of adults and kids together. So students played a role, or young learners played a role in the actual study, right, in the design?
Yeah, it was co-designed with youth fellows and utilizing AI, in this case Claude, to assist in distilling the key takeaways from data. So they weren't just studying kids. Kids were part of this whole design, which is
fantastic.
Awesome.
Clearly, we're going to keep coming back to the good work that they're doing. All right, then finally, in the world of AI literacy, this was not particularly coinciding with AI Literacy Day, but NBC Boston 10, so I'm just saying Boston, right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor Wu, who's a really fascinating leader, wants to make Boston the first AI literacy focused school district in the country. So this is a new public-private partnership, district-wide AI literacy starting in basically next fall. So students at the Elliott Innovation School are already using these kind of AI chatbots to do things like MCAS prep and feedback on their writing. This was a nice partnership they had with a guy named Paul English, who is a BPS graduate.
Nice.
Provided $1 million to help fund the initiative. And so they're kind of partnering with that foundation to do this work. So we will keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
All right, Liz, let's shift our focus to the courts, law, policy, guardrails, all that good stuff. Wikipedia, this is big news. Wikipedia has essentially banned AI-generated articles in their entirety. This is in The Verge.
Yes, they have. So they have updated their guidelines to prohibit the use of AI for writing or rewriting articles on its English site. So this ban stems from concerns that AI-generated content is often inaccurate.
Really? Wait, is that true?
And also violates their core content policies. And so there's some limited exceptions for basic copy editing and language translation, but that all has to happen under strict human supervision.
Okay, so there's a policy story. Now a court story.
This was a big one.
Yeah, so 2 verdicts in 2 days. How American courts are rewriting the rules of big tech and children. This is in The Conversation, but it's been all over the place. There was essentially 2 rulings. One that was against Meta and YouTube, the other mostly against Meta. But basically, finally, after, 20 years of companies most certainly behaving in nefarious and inappropriate ways when it comes to youth being found guilty.
Yeah. So there were juries in New Mexico and Los Angeles that issued these huge rulings against Meta and Google, totaling over $380 million in damages.
Which is Mark Zuckerberg probably has that as change in his couch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone said it was like a parking ticket, a Mark Zuckerberg parking ticket. So the financial penalties, like you said, the financial penalties are really small for the corporations, but the cases establish viable legal pathways to bypass Section 230 immunity by focusing on corporate lies and harmful product architecture.
Now, I'm a nerd, but are you familiar with Section 230?
I am not,
yeah,
but
it's really interesting. So Section 230 is a piece of the law that these folks have used for a long time. It basically says because they are a platform where users contribute things, right? That because the user is contributing, the platform can't be held responsible. It was essentially a shield for 2 decades now. Because if I posted something about an eating disorder and some woman saw it or a young girl saw it, Meta's not responsible. The person who said it was like a buffer between them until people realize you're actually juicing the algorithm so you detect exactly what people see. You're an editor, a curator, a publisher of all manner. So it's amazing that it stood so long as a buffer against these lawsuits, but clearly this has fallen.
Right. I mean, New Mexico bypassed the law by saying that Meta knowingly lied to consumers about safety, making it a deception case, not a content case. So it says that there was straightforward deception in public statements, unfair practices where executives ignored internal engineering warnings for profit, and unconscionability regarding children's inability to protect themselves from these engagement maximizing designs. Like they were made to stick. They were made to encourage the inevitable scrolling and interminable scrolling.
And they had it right from the top, right? I mean, they basically have Zuckerberg, like, what's the phrase, dead to rights? I don't know.
These statements or these cases and verdicts are kind of like the 1990s, like big tobacco litigation. Like this is huge and it was all over the news. So, we'll see what changes this actually brings or if it's, a traffic ticket.
Now, this all relates in part to like some of the screen time stuff that's going on. And we'll start hearing on the podcast probably in late May. Our team here at Advance is proactively going to be doing some work with school districts around something we're calling the screen shift, where we're helping folks collect data and think about data usage of screen time, both in and out of school, and make strategic investments of where screens can add value and probably peeling back some places where they don't. So, TBD, put that as a placeholder. But I love this story. This was in the New York Times last week. An Irish town called Greystones, which is by itself just delightful.
Lovely.
Has implemented a successful grassroots voluntary no smart devices code for primary school children to combat digital anxiety and early exposure to adult content. So, rather than have you and me as like moms and dads be responsible for this thing individually and have to fight with our kids and our neighbors about who's letting the whole town is just like, no, that's a town. We're banning smartphones for kids under a certain age. So I thought that was pretty great.
Well, that's the only way it's going to work because so much of the pressure is like, I don't want to give my kid a phone until they're in 8th grade. But if all of their friends have phones, I mean, we gave our girls phones in 7th grade because it was just the way it was going. Like you can't stand alone in this. And so when everybody says like, we're not giving our kids phones, it's awesome.
So if your kid's 11 right now and you're really just terrified about what's happening, move to Greystones in Ireland. It's going to be a great place to live.
Lovely knitting.
All right. So we've talked about courts. We've talked about policy. Now laws. Interestingly, and this is true in Connecticut, where you and I are lucky enough that occasionally people will email us and say, hey, here's a piece of proposed legislation. What do you think? Actually, in Connecticut, most of the ones that people have sent me for like just some comment have to do with AI companions.
Yeah.
This is from Think Forward Solutions. This is a Substack, but it's a good curation. There are 52 bills in 25 states dealing with AI in education at some level.
Yep.
Andrew Marchinek makes a case that, really what superintendents need to do here is not just like reflexively push a button. So in Ohio and Tennessee, as we've covered, there's like a mandated policy and there's sample policies to implement AI. And so Marchinek is saying like, don't just, rubber stamp that thing, but really have a conversation. But there's a lot of laws being proposed around AI across the country because everybody is in their state, the thick of their state legislative season. So give us a flavor around the country. We are not going to do a dramatic reading of all 52 bills.
No, we will not. But Maryland is proposing the Artificial Intelligence Ready Schools Act, which would require local AI coordinators, AI literacy and workforce standards, and a train-the-trainer professional development model. Mm-hmm. A lot of boards are moving from like, we got the guidance, now let's monitor the actual implementation of all these policies. And definitely this advice to define the problem and try to figure out how to solve it before just buying technology. Like, what are you trying to solve? What is the technology out there? Like, let's figure out the purpose before we just purchase more technology.
Yeah, which was Marchinek's kind of editorial comment, right? So we have all these bills across all these states. And the question is, what do you do proactively as a leader that's not just about compliance with the law, but doing what's in the interest of your kids and your community for sure? Now, at the same time that you have this like patchwork of state legislation proposed around AI in education, the White House releases their own national AI policy framework. And, there's like 7 pillars, but one of the pillars is clearly workforce training and education. So it's a key piece. And so the White House and the feds are arguing and essentially trying to create a moratorium. They've done this a few times now, and apologize to all the European listeners or, frankly, listeners around the globe. We get so many nice notes from folks all over the world, which is fantastic. We still sometimes get stuck inside our bubble, but I suspect our bubble is your bubble, right? So, but the White House here is basically trying to preempt any of these state level laws, which clearly they're not stopping, right? These bills are going to pass in this legislative session. There's a story here from the EdTech Innovation Hub, and we can put that into the show notes. All right, so we've got courts, we've got policies, we've got laws, and then the last one we have is a new policy, and we get asked about this all of the time, right? Yep. This is Prince William County Schools. It's a pretty big school district, and they have a new policy called Policy 729. What is 729 about, Dr. Radek?
Well, very clearly, 729.
You memorized it.
Yes, but it is to classify AI-enabled glasses as personal electronic communication devices, which bans their use during the school day to align with Virginia Department of Education and College Board standards. So they have a bell-to-bell storage requirement for secondary students and a total daytime ban for elementary students. And those glasses go along with that prohibition. So lock them away.
So for all of you who have emailed us and asking if we have sample policy, just go research Prince William County Public Schools Policy 729.
In Virginia.
In Virginia. All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear about some of the excellent attendance work that we've covered a few times from the folks at EDIA. But before, if you're enjoying ChatEDU but not currently following, please follow. And if you're following, hey, share it with a friend or a colleague or maybe two friends, two colleagues.
Yes.
Spread the word.
Please do. A student misses school. A robocall fires. Maybe a letter goes home. And then silence. That silence is where students slip through. EDIA works differently. Within minutes of an absence, our AI reaches out to families with a personalized message, not a form letter, not a recording, a real two-way conversation in over 100 languages that actually gets answers. Every absence followed up, every response logged, every pattern flagged for the people who need to know. Here's what that looks like in the real world. In Dunkirk, New York, chronic absenteeism dropped from 38% to 22% in a single school year, a 16-point swing that made the local news. In Farmington, New Mexico, schools saw an 81% parent reply rate, more than 1,580 staff hours saved, and a 31% reduction in unexplained absences. In Pohoakwe Valley, a small rural district with limited staff, chronic absenteeism fell by 12%. And in Springfield, the school board heard the numbers themselves. EDIA's AI-driven engagement translated into a 7% increase in passing rates. These aren't edge cases. They're what happens when your outreach system is built to care at scale. But the real measure isn't the hours saved or the dashboards filled. It's the student who almost stopped coming that received the support they needed before it was too late. Visit edia.app, that's edia.app, to schedule your free attendance data consultation today.
All right, Liz, let's turn to the higher education desk. This is From Prompt to Practice, a framework for transparent Gen AI use in higher education. This is from EDUCAUSE Review. This is Carol Dam and Lance Eaton. This caught my eye, right? Because very often, in fact, I saw the story and I was like, oh, it's yet another framework on how students should disclose their use of AI. Aha. But it's not.
No, it's on how professors should disclose their use of AI.
Right,
so
walk us through this.
So basically there are 4 levels of use. And so it's for transparency, which is a pedagogical act that models the academic integrity. It demystifies technology for students, reinforces the necessity of human verification. So then the 4 levels are minimal use, which is basically like some brainstorming, minor text edits. Human expert review is optional because the AI is not substantially like doing the work. Mm-hmm. So the second one is moderate use, where AI contributes substantive components like quiz banks, discussion prompts. There's content expert approval required, and it requires archiving original AI output and disclosing use where learners are encountering the content. So
that's a line in the sand, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, yes, like including the syllabus. Like if the AI created this, they want them to know.
Then so you've got those 2 uses, right? Then you get level 3, which is significant use. What's that?
Yeah, so AI is forming the backbone of major components like full lecture drafts, lesson plans. Humans are providing the direction and guidance. They're not actually originating the core content. And so this really requires like an edit log with rationales and public disclosure in course materials. Mm-hmm. So that would be probably anything you draft with, Notebook LM, if you're writing your lectures from there. So, and it's not a bad thing. Like you can have significant use.
Sure.
It's a way to document what you've done, but it doesn't mean that the content you've created is irrelevant or inauthentic. So it's just disclosing it, just being honest.
Yep.
And the last one is comprehensive use, where AI produces the majority of instructional artifacts or adaptive content, where humans are providing full oversight and quality assurance reviews. Basically, they're also saying you should create kind of a doc, right, separately that archives your entire chat conversation, just should anybody ever want it, for total transparency. So,
all right. Now, in the spirit of total transparency, did they use AI in the production of this?
The article itself was produced using moderate to significant AI use, so levels 2 and 3, with the authors using generative AI to refine outlines and draft sections based on meeting transcripts.
I love it. All right, Liz, let's turn. You've never mentioned to us that you went to the University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, have I not? No.
So they're doing some really cool stuff in mathematics. This is in the EdTech Innovation Hub. And as always, we'll drop this into the show notes. So what are they doing at your alma mater?
Yeah, so 2 researchers in the math department, Michael Kearns and Aaron Roth, describe how agentic AI tools are transforming research by translating these high-level concepts into like 50-page rigorous papers in weeks rather than months. But they do say like it's only AI is a smart but error-prone colleague, so it's like 75% accurate. So they still have to avoid the AI research slop.
So really accelerating mathematics research, really also amplifying the need for expert review. And I think we see this across all fields in higher education.
Yeah.
And there's also this worry about, doctoral training, right? Because at some level, this is part of the workflow as you move from a junior researcher to a more senior researcher. So is there a fear that AI is disrupting some of that kind of credentialing and just accumulation of knowledge and skill?
Absolutely. Just, if AI is solving those low-level problems and students don't have to struggle through them, like, are they missing out? We've talked about that too with like even
lawyers and
lesson planning, like if you don't have to teach a crappy lesson because you came up with it yourself and all of your lessons are A+, like, what's the point of being a first-year teacher if it goes well?
I've been trying to sell that theory. I'm not getting too far, but I think it's an interesting perspective, sure. All right, awesome. So let's turn to the weird and the wild.
Okay.
So a couple interesting stories here. This one has nothing to do with AI in education, but I thought fascinating. So there's a company called Halter. They have raised $220 million in Series E funding, which is like venture capital funding. And so they essentially have a solar-powered GPS that goes around the neck of a
livestock?
Yeah, these
cows.
These are cows, right? So you got this solar powered thing that goes around the neck of the cow. It's got GPS. They use AI. So essentially you can manage your cattle herd without any fences, right? Because AI and GPS are all kind of working together. So really interesting. They got sensors and software all happening together. And you can also manage like where the herd moves. I mean, just think about like Yellowstone and all the cowboys and moving stuff around. And so now you're like sitting on your smartphone somewhere drinking a double cap frap latte or whatever, moving your herd. And so the cows get like these general vibrations along with audio cues to contain and move them. And they can also like manage what they're eating and what their health is. I mean, this is wild. They've constructed over 60,000 miles of virtual fences. This is mostly happening, I think, in like New Zealand and other parts of the world, but coming to a cow pasture near you.
It reminds me of, we had an Expo Fest project like that almost, with like trying to make kind of the movable electric fence where like if you took your dog somewhere and you could put like a sensor and it couldn't leave the diameter of that circle.
Yeah.
So like it's going to be possible. It's like a huge electric shock collar for 60,000 miles instead of the invisible fence in your backyard.
It's wild. One of the 20-year-olds in my house has a hard time waking up, and he now has a watch that vibrates and then shocks him if he doesn't get up. And I know that horrible is not my idea. Speaking of kids using, you mentioned Expo Fest, which was a thing we did for a decade plus here, almost 15 years, where kids were solving real world problems. This is a topic that you and I are interested in, students using AI to solve real world problems. And Liz, for the viewer on ChatEDU, what do I have? And you can describe for the listener, what's in my hot little hand right here?
You have the April issue of EL Magazine, which is, the theme is igniting curiosity in schools.
And why am I holding this up?
Well, I believe if you turn to page 23, you will see an article co-authored by us called Sparking Curiosity with Applied Intelligence. And it's all about beyond the bot kind of projects, kids using AI to solve projects. So take out your copy of EL Magazine or your digital version from ASCD plus ISTE and read our little article.
Liz gets really all the credit for that. I'm along for the ride. We're good thought partners, but Liz is just knocking it out of the park. Book, publications, conference events, speaking. So I'm in awe of the doctor's good work and delighted to be a collaborator. All right, let's keep the weird going here. So this real briefly, this is from Human Security. It appears that internet traffic driven by AI agents is going up a little bit, like 7,851%. So this is internet traffic that is caused by bots that are going out and doing stuff. One of the superintendents that we like a lot has told me on 2 occasions that he has had an AI agent go out and book a car rental for him. So he just says to his agent, hey, this is where I'm going. Go book me a car. But that's like literally, if you want to imagine what does 7,851% look like, it's the bots doing that stuff. And then finally, in the weird and wild, speaking of robots, we have the First Lady of the United States walking hand in hand, not actually hand in hand, that would be more like a companion thing, with a robot. So this is Melania and the robot. The New York Times, our dear colleague Lisa Bowden shared this with us. So tell us about this, Liz. What was the First Lady doing with a robot, and why does it on ChatEDU, the AI and Education podcast?
Yeah. I mean, if you turned on the news last week, particularly any of the late night comedians, you definitely saw Melania walking with these humanoid robots. So this robot she was with was called Figure 3, and she is proposing a future of personified AI where robots provide instantaneous access to classical studies and, just being teachers or being in the classrooms.
That's essentially what the proposal was. You would have your Plato robot.
Yeah. I mean, this is a broader Trump administrative executive order to fund private sector AI curriculum partnerships. So like the Alpha School and 2-Hour Learning. I mean, there's some potential benefits in reducing student anxiety and building social bonds, but
You sound like there's a question in your voice.
I just...
We did cover a couple of really cool stories. I remember one Dan Fitzpatrick wrote about it in Forbes where, like, in very discreet settings, kids who were, like, nonverbal or had, different things going on, like a robot was there and listened and was patient and kind of helped them. And it was a little bit of an unlock. Like, I don't think we're saying poo-poo entirely.
Right.
But boy... generally, we want kids to be with adults who have care, empathy, concern, understanding. We covered a story last week where AI robot lunch lady started like flailing around. I mean, there's physical harm risk here. Yeah. So I think we have to be super careful about this. I appreciate that the First Lady has been thinking a lot about AI in the future. She certainly has brought a lot of visibility to the AI White House challenge. So it's not a one-sized frame. But the idea that we're going to be, having kids with a lot of robot AI teachers, I think we do have to be thoughtful and careful about.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Liz, in the rundown, this is really interesting. Anthropic has this thing called the Economic Index Report that they put out. And they do this a lot. There's a whole bunch of them. And so I think this is the 5th or 6th, I can't remember, but they come out quite frequently. This one's called Behind the Curtain, America's Next Class War, AI Fluency. This is from Axios, but covered lots of different places. And it suggests that AI is creating a new form of kind of economic inequality based on how sophisticated people are becoming with AI chatbots. So comparing someone who has used a tool like Claude for 6 months versus someone who has used it just as a newbie, as a brand new user. We're less interested in necessarily the class war piece of this. What I thought was fascinating is that they are demonstrating that there's a group of people who are using AI in a particular way that are seriously pulling ahead, like dramatically pulling ahead of other users. So what's that use case? What does it look like for a very impactful AI use versus a non-impactful AI use?
We really want to go to augmentation beyond just automation or search-like queries. We want to go to this place where you're having AI help you with business planning, stress testing a plan, helping out with high-value work that elevates and moves beyond just like a task to complete automated task.
Yeah, it'd be cool if there was a framework where you could sort of think through these different AI prompting strategies where sometimes you're just like, automating a task that's low level, you're not getting a lot of depth from, or another one where you're providing like a ton of context to the AI.
Okay, we get, yeah. Clerk, colleague, coach. We know. Andrew McAfee.
But I love that guy. I must have a man crush. But yeah, it's worth pointing out, and of course, in the Anthropic study, it was very validating because, and we just think this is important. When folks give the AI a ton of context, like here's the thing I'm really working on, here's the setting, here's who I am, here's my problem set, here's my opportunity, now help me troubleshoot it, those people are pulling away in a massive regard, right? And it could be just a chatbot. Also, there's these crazy things now in Claude Code called AI skills. And so the skills are a way where they're able to say, okay, great, here's a skill I want you to master because this is my context and setting. So, thank you, Liz. I appreciate your neutering my enthusiasm for colleague and coach. All right, now we're going to take another quick break. Hear all about the AI micro-credential is starting on April 27th. Yeah, so there's still time to come sign up and join us. We would be delighted if you do that. We've got a couple international folks participating this spring, which is really cool. It makes the 4 Zoom meetings that we do super fascinating because we get to hear from people all over the world talking about their perspective. So come check that out. If you enjoy our insights on AI and education, don't miss our next 6-week AI and education micro-credential launching this spring in partnership with Southern Connecticut State University on April 27th. This self-paced online course for educators and leaders in primary, secondary, and higher education across the globe covers AI essentials from foundational concepts like effective and impactful prompting to advanced skills like multilingual video translation, AI-driven assessments, and even vibe-coded software development that truly anyone can do. We've added a bunch of new content for the spring cohort, including a focus on emerging risks like AI companions, energy, and the environment. We'll also dive into the latest in Notebook LM, which frankly could be a course unto itself. There are new student AI literacy resources, as well as important updates on student-facing tools like custom gems and guided learning in Gemini. Each cohort features 4 live Zoom sessions for hands-on support, and participants can earn a Credly digital credential upon completion. To learn more or register, visit skills21.org/AI/micro. Or feel free to email us at chatEDU@edadvance.org. Again, the course starts on April 27th, and we hope you'll be able to join us. All right, Liz, it's time to go beneath the surface, where we're talking about the U.S. Department of Labor, who has put out a free 1-week AI literacy course designed to provide foundational skills for every American via text message. What a differentiator. Requires no laptop, no internet, and these are bite-sized 10-minute daily lessons delivered to any cell phone. The curriculum covers the 5 pillars of AI literacy, which we have covered. This is the Department of Labor AI Literacy Framework, but you do it over text. You text READY to the number 20202. Liz, you've been texting. Tell us about it.
I texted 20202 and ready, and I have been doing this course for the last 4 days. I think today is my day 5. It is definitely some text messages. There's a lot of memes. So here's Dorothy.
They have a sense of humor at the Department of Labor.
Oh, yeah. Every day starts with a little meme.
What's the Dorothy meme saying?
She's saying, how can you talk if you haven't got a brain?
Okay. And what was the context for that, text exercise?
So this was the first day of the lesson. So what is AI, right? So it gives you some, you've already been using it. It's your Netflix guessing the next series. It's Google Maps. How does it work? It's patterns and predictions.
Okay.
And then it asks how I feel about it, confidence level. Which is then going to help steer it. I'm assuming that I'm getting different content because I put in I put in an 8 out of 10.
You said you're a guru?
I didn't say I was a 10. I could teach it, although I probably am a 10 in this scenario. But I'm not a 0. I have no idea yet. And 5 is I'm starting to get it. So I said I was an 8.
Okay, fair.
And so then it told me what we're going to learn. And it says that you will get hands-on practice with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Grok, whichever ones you like best.
ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or Grok. Okay, so they pretty much got them all. They didn't miss anybody, right?
Copilot. Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It's funny because when we had a great interview with someone from the White House. We talked a little bit about how folks in the government have Copilot as their tool. But okay, carry on.
Interesting. Yeah. It asked how often I use it, and then it's now really getting into the lessons. So the first one is, imagine your friend says, AI knows everything. It's like a genius that's always right. Like, what would you respond? A, that's true. AI has access to all the world's information, so it knows stuff. B, AI is just Google with a nicer interface and a personality. Or C, not exactly. AI makes predictions based on patterns, and it can be confident but dead wrong. I got it right. And there's another meme there, razzmatazz.
I'm digging this.
Yeah. So then, the next day is about how AI learns, right? So how you learn anything, right? You study and then you predict and you practice. So it gives you a scenario about budgeting and what is AI doing to create this advice. Now, I didn't respond that day, and it asked if it caught me at a bad time and would there be a better time to do it? Because my AI comes every day at 4:45.
Okay. And how long did it wait before it's like, hey, I haven't heard from you?
I think a day, maybe a day.
Okay. All right.
Maybe
You've been busy. You got a lot going on.
I've got some stuff going on. How to talk to AI is day 3, and it tells a lot about prompting. They compare it to ordering food. If you say, I want food, you might get a raw turnip. If you say medium pepperoni pizza, extra cheese, well done, now we're talking. So AI writes the same way or works the same way. If you ask it to write something about your business, you're going to get mush. But if you say, write a 3-sentence pitch for my landscaping business that targets homeowners in Dallas, you'll get something you can use.
Almost sounded like clerk and colleague there. Go ahead.
Then it gives you some sample prompts and then says to go try them. And why does the quality of your prompt matter so much is at the end. Yeah, it just keeps asking questions. I mean, the prompts are nice and short. Lots of emojis, Matt. I'm sorry.
That's okay in text message. I just don't want to see in the thread of my context window.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a great job. I got it. AI responds well to the same kind of clear communication you'd use with a colleague. No jargon required.
So, and does it challenge you ever to go out to Grok or Gemini or ChatGPT to do something? Or
it gives you suggestions of things to try. But then the other day, lesson 3 had a challenge of the day to create a funny song with AI and go to Udio and start creating by describing someone picking a genre and adding 3 fun details about them, and then give it a run for its money, see how it makes it.
I love that they gave Udio a plug there and not Suno. So
yeah.
Like Department of Labor, picking winners. Now, listen, you're in the middle of building an AI micro-credential for our Office of Workforce Strategy in the state. This is for job seekers. So resumes, applications, interviewing, all sorts of stuff, but also just like foundation knowledge prompting. So is this giving you any insight to how you're approaching your own course development? It's very clever with this whole text thing.
Yeah, it's super clever. I mean, even lesson day 4 is about prompting, and it has its framework. It says a strong prompt has 3 parts: goal, context, expectations.
Yep.
That's super simple.
Yep.
And also really clear. What do you want AI to do? What should AI know about your situation? And what should the result look like?
Yep.
Think of it like calling a contractor. Fix my house, chaos. Replace the broken tile in the upstairs bathroom, match the existing white subway tile, budget under $200. You'll get what you need. In this one, interestingly, it gave me a multiple choice question, gave me a power move that I can actually add my own data. So it tells you how to do that. And it gives the example, paste your resume and ask it to rewrite it for a nursing assistant position.
Gotcha.
Share your monthly expenses, find my 3 biggest spending categories. It's the difference between asking, how do I budget, and handing over the actual numbers and saying, how can I save $200 a month? And then this one asked me, it gave a prompt that said, write a workout plan, and said, what's one way you could improve it? So then I rewrote the prompt. And it said that I did it well.
This is fascinating. So you get a task, you do this thing, you push it back to the system over text, and then in seconds you get a response back?
Well, I don't know if it actually read my response because it didn't reference my response, but it did say write a workout plan. What's one way you can improve that prompt? And I said, write a 30-minute workout plan for a woman in her 40s that does not include running. And it's responded, a strong prompt looks like create a 4-day workout plan, goal, for a beginner, context, using 20 minutes. But it's so easy. It just keeps giving me the lessons. They come to my phone. They're easy to do. There's links to go out and do more stuff. So it's very clever. And for people that have never used AI before and are just kind of I think of people, just anybody who hasn't used it, whether they don't have any reason in their work to do it or it just hasn't come up, super easy, super clever. It's certainly not in depth and going to get you all the skills to get a new job. But if you do this, you can certainly then see like, oh, wait, if I can do this, if it's going to rewrite my resume for a particular job, how else can I use it? Very easy to get involved.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for, as always, you're such a good like doer, right? So I really appreciate you taking time, as does the audience, to unpack that. We've stayed entirely away from the politics. I guess I just have to say really quickly here, because you've had such a positive experience, I wish, and maybe there's just nothing to do about it, this is just where we are right now, but the branding of the course will shut some people down, right? There's just, whatever your politics are, if you call something Make America Whatever, some people are just going to be like, no, 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 right? And it's a bummer at some degree because, look, the Department of Labor is the Department of Labor. Their job is to help make sure, that's why they put out the AI literacy framework. Now they've put out this pretty innovative, text-based, super accessible, equity-oriented, responsive, adaptive course. So I'm just talking in a circle here. I'm not even sure to what end, but it's hard not to make the observation because I didn't know where you're going to come back, and it turns out it's pretty good, right? So
yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. Go to ChatGPT and say, give me 5 different titles for this course, and then take that course. Okay. All right, Liz. Really good. Good stuff. So I believe it is time now for a
Bright Bye.
Yeah, this one cut close to home. So this is Help NA, radar-based fall prevention. This is literally from the company Help NA. This is from their official website, although I did see it as a news hit. So this one has essentially, right, these bright bites all the time are ways in which we're using AI, whether it's vision or machine learning or analytical systems or whatever. We're using AI to help with health, with energy, with culture, with natural disaster discovery, right? Positive use cases that are not about language models specifically or only. So what do these clever folks do?
They've created an AI-integrated radar-based motion monitoring ecosystem for senior living communities designed to reduce falls and improve care efficiency without using cameras or microphones, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's a little pendant. It's wild.
Yeah, so the system uses these ceiling-mounted sensors and data dashboards to provide real-time resident insights, reportedly reducing falls by up to 72% and increasing staff time for resident interactions by between like 20 and 22%, which is great. So they don't have to use cameras or microphones, so it preserves privacy,
Sure.
which, lots of people, and resident dignity, which people are concerned with, of course. So there's this device called ePaul, which offers a one-tap emergency call system for residents within the Paul ecosystem.
So it's like a twofer, right? You get the life alert thing, but then you're also getting a thing that's preventative that helps you not fall, or it also alerts staff where there's like a risk of a fall from all this machine learning cadence about the way they're walking or the way that, something's happening in motion because it knows what quality stability ought to look like.
There's this Paul Jr. tool carried by the caregivers to track their work and help managers optimize staffing and balance workloads across shifts. And there's been this huge reduction in falls.
72%.
72%. So, they're reducing unnecessary checks, which is probably a lot of what time is spent doing. The efficiency gains have been achieved without introducing new staff or increasing the overall staff headcount. It's great. My mother-in-law lives in a senior living community, and her kind of built-in check is that if she doesn't go to dinner and hasn't called that she's not coming to dinner, they will check on her. But that's really kind of the only check-in.
Definitely not proactive the way that this is. And this is not peer review. This is from the company themselves directly, but, look like a really interesting use case. Now, this is, we'll start with disclosure and we'll end with disclosure, not academic disclosure. So my mom right now is actually up right near me in Lenox. She's in a rehab facility. She had some surgery and just stuff hasn't gone great. She's nearly 90 years old and falls are a real concern for her.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a wonderful facility. I've been so impressed with these folks. And it's a great example of like how it's not a robot thing, right? The human beings and the care and concern that staff have showed in that place is just like, it makes all the difference, but it's not like super high tech. But my mom, I'm trying to get her motivated to like do her PT. I'm like, because if she doesn't get her strength back, she's not going to walk and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, Mom, you need to do like bed crunches and leg lifts. And, yes, you're going to get 2 hours of PT and OT every day, but you need to like work on this on your own.
Right.
And she's kind of like, she's not super motivated. So I just texted you over something that I use. I took a picture of her from Thanksgiving sitting next to my son, and I turned her into this little cartoon character and then have her, it's called Arlene's Road to the Wedding, right? Because my nephew, her grandson, is getting married in November, and I'm like trying to inspire her to do the work So it was really fun. And I have to say, I hung it next to her bed and she's kind of getting there. So it's like pictures of her like doing crunches and leg lifts and torso twists and like building her leg strength, pushing against the headboard, or sorry, against the footboard. So
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
It's very cute. And she looks very spry and excited to the road to the wedding. So
Yeah, I don't think that's a look I'm going to get at 5 o'clock when I see her this afternoon, but nonetheless, we'll see if this has been ripped down from the wall.
thrown at you.
Hang in there, Mom. You and AI are going to make it, whether it's with a fall prevention tool or just a little inspiration.
Oh, yes.
All right, there you go, Liz. What a fun episode. Great to be with you. Next week, I know for sure that we're doing a little combination of remote and in person. I'm going to be back out in beautiful Wyoming. You're going to be, are you in Litchfield next week?
I'm in Litchfield next week.
All right, fantastic. Well, we'll have a little, 2,500 mile away conversation, which I'm looking forward to.
All right, Matt. Well, have safe travels and enjoy your time out in Wyoming. Please, if you're going to go hiking, text my mother where you're going.
It's all work on this one. I'm with the good folks at the Central Wyoming College.
Okay. Well, then you don't need to text my mom.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll see some people in Litchfield. May 1st is our spring conference, so it's coming up quick.
Yeah, right around the corner. This is, we're actually close to selling out. I'm not sure if we're quite there yet, but as we've said before, it's been delightful. We really started this as a thing that for folks in our backyard. We're a relatively small building, so we max out at like 180 people. But we have had people from the ChatEDU community come from Michigan, from Pennsylvania, from New Jersey. No one's come from abroad yet, but please consider doing that. It could be beautiful. It could snow. Highly unlikely.
It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be beautiful. So that is at edadvance, which we have spelled time and time again on the podcast, but it's edadvance.org/AI-conference. And if all goes well, that will show up in the show notes, but we would love for you to join us. That is May 1st. We're going to have breakout sessions from our staff. We're going to have a college student panel, which I'm super psyched about.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so students in college telling about their experience so that folks could generally, this is like leaders and teachers and educators in the K-12 space. So get a little bit of picture of what's happening on the student front. And then we had like a ton of proposals come in, including folks in the ChatEDU audience from out of state, to do some conference sessions in the afternoon. This is sponsored in partnership with ZSpace, which is an awesome organization. And so, come join us. Again, that's edadvance.org/AI-conference, May 1st in beautiful downtown Litchfield, Connecticut. And Liz, that must mean it is time to
roll the credits.
I want you to bring back your Gemini roll the credits thing. That was great.
Well, maybe next week you'll get a new one.
Oh, yeah. They just updated it. It's now Lyria 3. So in Gemini, yeah, it's funny. There's so many things in the Gemini interface now that you almost don't know what to click on. But yes, we will, just as human beings, non-robotic.
Roll the credits. As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at chatedu@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. ChatEDU is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the Executive Director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoy the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, our new middle and high school student AI literacy course, and our educator and leader micro-credential, co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you for listening to ChatEDU.